Good morning, my name's David Ogden, and today I'm going to give you some information about moving your host to the free Veretekk hosting that is included as a gold subscriber to Veretekk. We're just going to be undertaking the basics here. I will probably do a more advanced hosting later on. The first thing you need to do is to do some planning, because you want to make sure that you've got the copies of the website files that make up your present website which you host elsewhere. And if necessary, you might need to download these files from the current host to your PC. If you have any databases as a result of using WordPress or PHP forums and the like, which use databases, you're going to need to download those as well to your PC. And you also need to update your name servers to point to your new hosting company. Now I'm just going to go through a few of the details on how to back up a database. In front of you I'm looking at a cPanel installation. Depending on who you're hosting with, you may have a different kind of back office, but what you're looking for is the database section of your back office, and you're looking for a file called PHPMyAdmin, because that's how you administer your databases. Now I've got an example of a PHPMyAdmin file open here. They can look and feel slightly differently depending on what versions they're being run, but basically this one shows all my databases down the left hand side, and if I want to export these databases I can use the export button at the top menu and it will export the databases. However, there is a size limitation on, and if you have a lot of databases like shown here, you will actually have to download the databases one by one. So the quick method is just to press export and download in SQL format, and it will present a download file for you. You save that to your PC and then upload it. But if you've got a lot of databases, what you need to do is to click on each database in turn. I'll click on one here, and then this shows you, instead of showing all the databases, this then shows you a view of all the tables. So we can back up all these tables within Borneo Tips, and we click on export, and it gives you a message to say it's going to be exporting the database, and you just press go, and that's your database saved. Now the other thing we need to go is to our host, to our domain provider. In my case I'm going to GoDaddy, as that's where I tend to buy my domains from. And what you're looking for is your domain management. In GoDaddy they have a system for domain management here. We can click on that, and then what I'm going to be doing is looking for updating the name servers. So here I can select my name servers. I set my name servers is what I'm looking for. I click on that button and a new screen opens up, and you click on the button that says I have specific name servers for my domains, and you enter in the Veretekk hosting name servers, which are ns40.e-wav.net and ns41.e-wav.net. Once you've done that, you press OK, and within the next 24 to 48 hours the name servers will be updated throughout the internet, and your site will be found on Veretekk hosting. But until that time it will be done under the old hosting. One tip I always do is, if I'm changing hosts, I always make just a small change to my main file, just so that I know when the name servers have actually changed over and they're using my new host. So anyway, now we can get into the details of vPanel hosting. We need a secure file transfer system, and we highly recommend WinSCP, which is available in our back office. You will also probably need an HTML editor. I suggest you go and purchase a copy of Edit Plus, or you will find a copy in the resources file within Veretekk. If you look at some of the old videos, there is a link to to be able to download an older version of Edit Plus for HTML editing. I don't recommend using things like WordPress for dealing with HTML because they put a lot of redundant code in that connects to all the other Microsoft products, and it just makes a mess of your website. You probably need to purchase a domain name. If you're looking for a new domain, I always suggest that your domain name should be your own name, and that's the first domain you should purchase so that you can start branding yourself, and then you can brand your business. But it is actually optional, because within the vPanel system we do have some aged domains on which you can put up websites. So now for our domain management, what we do is we try to separate out where our domains go. Rather than putting them all within public, you're highly recommended to put them your domains into the public directory and then build a folder called domains on which you put your domain names. And then when you have subdomains, rather than pile them all together in public, it's better to separate them out and put them in their own folder under the public directory called subdomains, then go by the domain name and then the subdomain name. Because by doing it this way, if you use a similar named subdomain on various domains, you'll very quickly be able to find out the correct information. We also have our inbuilt Veretekk age domains, and these are stored at the high level, at the same level as the public HTML. You will find another folder called subdomain. In this folder you go to the Veretekk domain name and then your username, and that's where your information will be found. There is one further file that you will have, and that is you have your own domain at vpanelhosting.net, and the subdomain of that is your Veretekk username. So it's Veretekk username.vpanelhosting.net is another place where you can put your website. So having gone over the principles, we'll get down to business. We will find hosting under the hosting tab of our back office, along with a getting started guide which we should go into, and also access to our Verepress, which is also included free within the hosting. So we're going to click the Get Started button, and this will remind us about what our name server names are if we've forgotten. And also, if you have a database, you need to change the local host to 10.5.5.32 for the system to work and your data to be secured. And then further down this page there are more details about file manager, the WinSCP setups, etc. But we're going to go into our getting started, and we'll log into Verehost. When we open it up, it can be a little confusing. There's a lot of icons on cPanel, many of which you will never use. So what you can do is you can roll up the different sections by using these arrows on the right hand side. We're going to be scrolling down a bit further to look at the database area and the file transfer. So we'll just go down here to our domains. I've closed off all the other ones. We're going to add on our domain and add on to our hosting. So we click on Add on Domain. We then enter in the domain name. In this case I'm using a domain called training.com. And normally we can just go ahead and type in a password, and all the rest of the data will be filled in for us, like so. Now there's a couple of things to note. Is if everything's set up correctly within the system, your domain will be put within the public HTML/domain/training.com. If it just puts it directly into the domain, into the public HTML, you need to add this little bit here, a /domain and then a /training, or your hosting. Another thing to note is the FTP username. The FTP username by default is the same as the domain name, but without the extension. Now, many people know this, and this is the way hackers get into the system, because all they then have to do is make a guess at your password or find your password by other means. So what I suggest you do is that you disable FTP. It's not required if you're using WinSCP. So to do that, we go back to our cPanel, and we look for the file folder, and we look for FTP accounts. We click on the FTP account, and we can then use this search box to find the FTP account that you want. In this case, I'm going to look at 10K per week. And in here it says I can delete. Don't worry, at this stage you're not going to actually delete anything by hitting this button. So we hit the button and it then gives you two options. To delete the account 10K per week, or to delete the account 10K per week and delete all the files under it. We do not want to delete all our files, otherwise all our data is deleted. So we just delete the account. By doing that, it will stop anyone using FTP to get into your system. So having done that, I'll explain briefly about the search box within the cPanel. Virtually every section of vPanel has a search box, and you can put in a search here relating to what your domain names are, and it will give you a listing of them. If you're adding subdomains, you can put in a subdomain. If you're adding email accounts, you can search to see whether things are in there beforehand. So it's quite a useful tool to use the various search boxes. So we're going to go back to our hosting and I'm going to go in and show you on the file manager where the files actually go. This is an optional step, you don't need to take it, but it's just to reassure you where the files go. Now there are two file managers on the system. I prefer to use the legacy file manager because I like the look and feel of that, but the more modern file manager actually allows you to load and manage zip files, so some people find that more useful. But we're going to go to our root directory of our hosting, which is our username, and we just press go, and this takes us into the public directory. And here we can see the domain. The domain folder within public is where we put our domains. The subdomain folder is where we put our subdomains. We've just added a domain, so we click on the domain folder. It then gives you the URL that we've just added, the website training.com. So that's it, it's all ready to go. Now all we've got to do is add the data. So to load your website data, we use WinSCP because it's a secure web transfer system and it protects your password so people won't be able to get hold of it and get hold of your data. It also stores an original site offline, which allows easy editing and updating. If you do try and use the file manager, it does work if you've got a simple file to load up or maybe a picture, but generally speaking it's not recommended because you forget where the original is and it is open to hacking. So you can get your copy of WinSCP from the back office, as I said earlier, and when you first open it up, it will have some data in. You will have a collection of data in here which you can later delete. But the important thing is we want to add a new session, so we click on the new button. It then opens up a session to say host name. Well, until the name server's changes have taken place, you won't have access to your website. So you're best to use cpanel.e-wav.net, and the port number is 28594. All this information is held within the back office. And you can see in the background here, I've got the picture of the back office, and it says what the host name is, what the port number to use, your username to use, and here your password is actually your Veretekk password, but your username is not your Veretekk name. So once we've done that, entered that information, we just click log in. Now if you're using Firefox or some other browsers, you may get an error message coming up to say that the server host isn't known. That's quite alright, just accept it, and you shouldn't have any bother in the future unless you happen to clear your cache. So just click on yes, and you will get into the back office of WinSCP. Now WinSCP is split into two parts. The left hand side of the page is what's on your PC, and the right hand side is what's on your host. Now we're going into the public directory of our host, so we look for public and just click on the folder and it opens up. Here we're in public HTML and we've got our domain listing, and in a minute we're going to click on the domain and go to the next stage. But we also need to find our source. Now I keep my source data on an external drive, and so I need to connect to my external drive and find the file I want to load. So we'll go ahead, we'll click on the domain folder here, and we now get down, we can see our training domains there, and you can see also I've got a number of files here on my local drive. I will go and search for the file on my local drive, and I will go down to the next level in the folder in training.com. You can tell when you're at the right level because you will find a folder in each of your domains set up with SIGI-bin information. This can be deleted later if you want, but I just leave it there as a marker because that's where I need to put my data. Now the data I want to load is from my iDrive. I keep all my websites together, so I've gone to my sonorumbloom.net, which is the domain I want to upload. So I then just highlight all the data, and I drag the data from the left hand side to the right hand side. The act of dragging the data will start a copy process, and as the copy goes ahead, so the shaded area gets smaller. But don't panic when you don't see the data appearing on the right hand side. It will only appear on the right hand side when everything has been copied across. And when it's all been copied across, and provided your name servers have been updated, when you go and enter your domain on your browser, you'll be given a file that shows you what your domain looks like. And this one was just a domain I had in the past that I put up for sale. So the next step is to add an editor. However, before we do that, we might want to save the information that connects our data on our PC to the data on the website. So to do that, we need to save the session. So we go down here and just save the session. We can give it a name, with preferably our domain name, and then whenever you want to do a change to that domain, you just go into WinSCP, enter the domain name, and it will take you back to where you are now. The next thing I want to do is to add the editor, so I go into Options, and I go down to Preferences, and within Preferences I select Editor. Now I've already got Edit Plus installed, but I'm just going to show you how to add it again. So we go into Editor, we then press the Add button, and we're going to add an external editor to WinSCP. I previously downloaded Edit Plus, so I just browse within the program file to where the exe file is that starts the program, and once I'm there I press OK. Now having done that, if I want to edit a file, I can do my editing from within WinSCP. I just go to, say, the index.html, click on that, and the editor will automatically load the code file. This is HTML coding. It's not very difficult to learn. You have things to help you up here. You've got bold, italic, underline, change the font, change the colors, do a line break, a paragraph break, add headers, and add links. And basically that is all the information you have to learn, and you can teach yourself in about 15 minutes. It's very, very easy to learn and produces the best code on the internet today. If you want to see what your coding looks like, you have the view button here, and that's what your coding looks like. You can then toggle backwards and forwards between the two, altering your coding and amending it and seeing what the results are. So that's dealt with loading up your data to a domain. The next section is to load a subdomain. Now, to load a subdomain, you go back to your vPanel hosting and you go to domains and click on subdomain. Once you open up the subdomain, here's a little reminder here of the search box. You can search on your subdomain name and see if you've already included it before, but it doesn't really matter because you can put it anywhere. You can select using the drop down button here on where you want to do it, where you want to put down your subdomain. Now usually your subdomain is some keyword phrase that you've researched, and you can learn about keywords in my training sessions. And the route of where the subdomain will go should go to public HTML, subdomain, then the name of the domain, which is training.com, and then the subdomain. And if the system's set up right, just by changing the keyword, it will automatically fill these sections in. Otherwise, you have to do it yourself. So we've put our subdomain in there. So I'm just going to go to my WinSCP because I actually use my WinSCP as my kind of file manager, so I don't have to keep logging in and out of the file manager on the system. So here I've gone into WinSCP, I've navigated to my public HTML directory. You can see the domain area that we went into last time. I'm now going to go into the subdomain area. Click on the subdomain folder and it goes down to training. Click on the training folder and it goes down to my subdomains. I've got two subdomains in here, one blog subdomain and one test on training subdomain. I go down one stage further and I can put my data in there by transferring the data again from the left to the right, having selected what I want to load. So that's it. Very simple, very quick. Now there's another type of subdomain, and that is the Veretekk subdomains, which are very important because they're age subdomains. And only gold subscribers have access to these. And you can build your own website and also put on a number of custom applications such as Verepress and Vereforum. And I will briefly show you how to put up Verepress onto a subdomain. What we need to go to is back into WinSCP, and this time I've noticed I'm not in the public HTML directory, I'm at the high level, and so there's another subdomain folder here. Just check that your hosting name is in here, and you go into the subdomain by clicking on the folder here. This folder gives you a list of all your subdomains. And I'm going to go to a subdomain called thegoodbusiness.com. The data I'm going to load on is going to be an index PHP. So we'll click on here. We go down to my Veretekk username. If you've got good eyesight, you can read thegoodbusiness.com, and I'm within Veretekk username. I then go down to this level here, and I've already got the file in there. In the session that follows this, there is how to set up your Verepress. And basically, you set up your Verepress and download to your own PC an index.php file. Now I've put this index.php file in my own website directory where I hold all my website information on an external drive. So I've made a folder, thegoodbusiness.com. I've put my index.php in there, and then I've loaded it across into the right hand side. And I've deleted any other files in there. So you only want to have one index.php in there. If you've got a website, when you open it up and it's got other PHP files in there, delete the PHP files. They will mess things up. The other thing to note is that I've actually got a Google file in there, because you can, if you use Google and they want to verify your website, what you can do is to load the Google file, download the Google file to your PC, and then again pass it across and put it on your subdomain, and that will mean that Google will be able to do its magic on your domain. Now if we want to see what the PHP file looks like, we can just click on that in the editor, and this reminds you that you need to log into your Veretekk account and go to Communications Hosting Verepress to configure the information. What you enter on the configuration is then used to provide this file, this index file. So the only way you can change your Verepress data is to do it from the back office of Veretekk. This index file is merely the communications to connect your data to where it's held on the Veretekk servers. And if you want to again see what it looks like, you can go into your browser and enter your subdomain, in which case I'm going to go to david-ogden.thegoodbusiness.com, and this is what my Verepress looks like. It's a customized Verepress. I've got a customized CSS, but you will get the idea, and when you get in there, all these buttons will work and can be done to promote your business or to promote Veretekk. The default settings promote your Veretekk business, but as you can see, you can change it to promote whatever you want. So that brings us to the end of this training session. My name is David Ogden. I'm an internet marketing mentor and Veretekk trainer. You can contact me via my USA number 386-308-1956. Send me a voicemail and I will give you a call back. My normal working hours are 0600 to 1200 GMT +8, and you can also contact me via Skype, or of course as a member of Veretekk you can send me a message, David-Ogden. Thank you for coming, and remember to follow up with my future training. Bye for now.